Yeah, it's definitely different being in a room with people than a screen. So I'm going to start a ways back. I can't remember the exact year, but it was sometime in the mid 1970s. What I do remember is that it was a Friday afternoon. I was in the back seat of my mom's car, and I was so excited. We had just left the Bethany Public Library, and I had a stack of books that was going to keep me occupied and happy the entire weekend. I was that kid, the quiet bookworm, a little shy, the perfect student, really, or so it seemed. Beneath the surface of calm, there was trouble brewing. I had a secret superpower: procrastination. When I first started, I was probably in junior high. Suffice it to say that it moved quickly from starting the night before something was due, to staying up really late, to getting up early the morning that it was due, to doing it on the bus, to working on it during lunch. One night I turned in a paper after midnight at my neighbor's house, because he was my history professor, or teacher, tiptoeing through the dark. He'd said as long as he got it by morning, it would be okay. So hopefully I did okay. Somehow I got decent grades, got into college, and if you've been to college, all-nighters, yes. I'd work all night long on the papers. Caffeine and sugar were my friends. And then I discovered something new. You can ask professors for extensions. I became really good at writing those letters, the notes and the emails, pleading for an opportunity to give a little more time. And by senior year, I had learned about incompletes. And so I spent my winter break working on a paper that should have been done before I left school. That was really fun Christmas. I did get decent grades, and I thought academia was behind me, but eventually I opted to go to grad school. I don't know what I was thinking. And grad school was really stressful. And I did finish my classes, but have you ever heard of the term ABD, all but dissertation? That was my new title instead of PhD. It was hard. We'd moved a couple of times. We now had 3 children. Was finding it hard to find time, and then once I found the time, to stay focused. I used some different strategies. I loved books, as you remember, so I had purchased Writing Your Dissertation in 15 minutes a day. And then Get It Done, Secrets of Dissertation Success. Also its sequel, Get It Done Faster. They didn't work all that well for me, but I did ultimately finish my dissertation. I had achieved that holy grail years late with a paper. So that was 13 years in the making. Okay, so I was done. And if you fast forward a few years, I'm in a therapist's office with my oldest child, who's been diagnosed with a number of different issues, including ADHD. The therapist says, well, I think it would be a good idea for you to read this book on parenting a child with ADHD. The title was something like, Taking Charge, Strategies for Controlling Your Child, or something like that. I did go and read it right away. I love those books. And I came into the next meeting, and she said, what did you think of the book? I said, oh, I thought it was really, really good. I can really see how having all those routines and systems and structures can help a kid with ADHD. But there's one problem. I don't know how I can do that if I can't find my car keys. She paused, and then she said, I think it might be a good idea for you to make an appointment with my colleague next door. And sure enough, it turned out that I had ADHD. I had never known it. I think partly because, while I definitely had the attention and decision-making deficit, I wasn't really hyperactive, so I, sailed below the eyes of the folks in high school and college and so forth. So that was really helpful to have that diagnosis. One of the things that it helped me with was the problem of why I procrastinated. I'd always heard these theories. People procrastinate because they're afraid of failure. It didn't really seem true to me. It didn't land. People procrastinate maybe because they're afraid of success. No, success sounded good. I'd want success. But once I knew that I had ADHD, it all started to fall into place. The reason that I had procrastinated was because there was always so much to do, so many tasks, so many things that seemed interesting. I didn't know where to start. So the way I set myself up was by delaying until there was a crisis, and I had no choice but to focus on the one thing and let everything else fall away. As a dean at F&M, I work with a lot of struggling students, and I actually help them get a lot of incompletes. But what I know is that having that opportunity to think again about the struggles I had released a lot of self-criticism, blame. It's easy to say things like, oh, you should work harder. Why don't you plan ahead? Why don't you follow through? But understanding it from a different lens gives myself and others a lot of grace. And I think that's important because ADHD can be a gift. It has an optimism, that idea that I can get to a meeting if I leave a minute before it's supposed to start across campus. It has kind of like an intensity. You can lose yourself in a topic and hours will go by. The breadth of interest, making connections between all these diverse fields, and courage, like so many of us are demonstrating here today. Thanks.